All right, we're going to examine an interesting custom, but first a little bit of background. So in the old days, when they didn't have technology and they didn't have the set calendar that we have today, it used to be that if a day was called the Yantif, like for example Shavuos, which is a one-day holiday according to the Torah, communities that were outside the land of Israel would have to keep 2 days because the calendar was updated in real time in Jerusalem. And so the people that lived outside of Jerusalem, like countries away, they wouldn't know what the court in Jerusalem decided in terms of the sanctification of the month. Did they sanctify it, I'm making this up, on Wednesday, or did they sanctify it on Thursday? If they sanctified it like on Wednesday, that would mean that we're a day later. If they sanctified it on Thursday, we're a day earlier. So the people that lived outside the land of Israel always had what's called a Sveka de Yoma. Is it the 4th of the month, or is it the 5th of the month? And so when it comes to the holiday of Sukkot and the holiday of Shemini Atzeret, which are right next to each other, Sukkot is a 7-day holiday where you have to sit in the sukkah. Shemini Atzeret really is its own holiday, and it starts immediately after Sukkot. So it would be the equivalent of the 8th day, but it really is its own holiday. And it's a holiday where you, on a Torah level, do not have to sit in a sukkah. But because we always had this type of doubt about which day it really was, if you lived outside the land of Israel, on Shemini Atzeret, you didn't know whether it was the 7th day of Sukkot or is it Shemini Atzeret. So if it's the 7th day of Sukkot, you have to sit in a sukkah. So the custom became, and even in today's world where we do know really what day it is, but we keep the customs of our forefathers, that most Ashkenazim and Sephardim will sit in a sukkah on Shemini Atzeret, lest it be the 7th day of Sukkot. Even though today we really know it's not, we keep this custom. So now, we have to examine an interesting custom. We're going to use the Sfas Emes to examine this custom, which is that many Chassidim, not Lubavitch, but other Chassidim, do not sit in a sukkah, actually, on Shemini Atzeret. So most Jews do sit in a sukkah on Shemini Atzeret, but many Chassidim do not sit in a sukkah on Shemini Atzeret. And why is that from a spiritual perspective? So the first thing I'm going to draw your attention to is a verse in Tehillim. Yemei shenosenu behem 70 shana, ve'im gevru 80 shana, v'rachabam amal, ve'alven ki gaz chish naufa. The days of our years are 70, or if by reason or special strength, 80 years. Yet their pride is but trouble and wretchedness. It is soon cut off, and we fly away. So many people learn the verse very simply that says that some people live to 70, and some lucky people who are strong get to live to 80. However, numbers in Judaism are very important and very significant. And we have a concept that the world was created in 7 days, and that represents nature, meaning the number 7 represents nature. But the number 8 represents beyond nature, lamayla min hateva, above nature, and is typically in Judaism associated with an extra level of holiness. Like we'll say things like this, that the 7 days represent Olam Hazeh, the world that we live in, while the 8th day represents Olam Haba, the world to come. And so some people learn this verse very similarly. They say that if a person steigs and grows and learns for 70 years, and he does good, then he merits to 80 years, and he merits 80 years. But it doesn't mean that like you live 70 years really well, and then you get to live an extra 10 years. It's not actually what it means. What it means is that 8 represents the world to come, meaning that if you steig on your 70 years that an average person is given in this world, you will merit to live in the next dimension, which we refer to as 80 years, aka the world to come. That's what some people say is the meaning of this verse. Let's connect this to Sukkot. So on the first 7 days of Sukkot, we offer 70 bull offerings. It is said that those 70 bulls that we offer in the Holy Temple on Sukkot correspond to the 70 nations. That at one point there were 70 nations in this world, and today all nations are a branch just of those nations. And we offer bulls on Sukkot on their behalf for their well-being. Now on Shemini Atzeret, which is kind of, we'll call it like the 8th day, we only offer one bull. And it is said that that bull is for Klal Yisrael. It represents the Jewish people. So for Sukkot, we're so focused on offering sacrifices for the nation of the world. But on Shemini Atzeret, we only offer one bull, and it's for the Jewish people. You could stop right here. And if you just put two and two together, you have an answer to a very simple question. Many people can't even explain what is there to celebrate on Shemini Atzeret. But from what I just told you, Shemini Atzeret is a very important day. It is the day where we are alone with our beloved, so to speak. The focus is on Hashem, is on us, and our focus is on Him only, not the nations of the world anymore. However, we're going to take it a step further, which we said that the number 7 represents nature. Nature is Gashmias, which is like physicality. Nature and Gashmias are the current world, which are Olam Hazeh. And if we notice, this really does define the outlooks of the nations of the world. And when a Jew is in the physical world, what does he do? He needs to temper that. How does he do that? He builds himself a sukkah, which is an oasis of Ruchnias in the world surrounded by Gashmias. So the sukkah, like the holiday of Sukkah, is meant to be a microcosm of the world that we live in. We're surrounded by the nations of the world and constantly thinking about them, connected to the 70 bulls that we bring. And it is a world of physicality, just like it was the 7 days of creation, which was creating a physical world. That is Sukkot. And so what do? We isolate ourselves and protect us with the sukkah, which is Hashem's presence and represents Torah. And it's like our little escape from the outside world. And we said that the number 8 represents an idea of beyond nature, which is being alone with the Holy One in His presence and His Torah, aka why Shemini Atzeret in Eretz Yisrael is also the holiday of Simchas Torah. It represents the world to come, a world devoid of Gashmias. So now, if you think about that, then there is no need for a sukkah on Shemini Atzeret at all. But don't misread what I'm saying. Meaning, I'm not saying that since we don't need a sukkah, we don't have a sukkah. Actually, Shemini Atzeret is a sukkah. It's one mega sukkah. Meaning the whole purpose of the sukkah is that there's a world of Gashmias outside. I need to insulate myself with the holy presence. And we say that like the sukkah is like a very holy place, like the Beis HaMikdash, people say, without going into all the details of that. So I isolate myself. But the day of Shemini Atzeret is all about Ruchnias. It's all about holiness. It's all about being alone with Hashem and only focusing on Him, not the nations of the world. It's the number 8. 8 represents Olam Haba, the world to come. We see that Shemini Atzeret is itself a sukkah. So why do you need a sukkah if you are in a day that is literally a sukkah? I'm telling you to adopt this custom if it isn't your custom. And this is only from a spiritual perspective. It's not from a legalistic perspective. However, this teaches us a few things. It teaches us that when you see a custom and you don't understand it, there's always a spiritual dimension behind it. And secondly, even if you don't hold the custom, is the day still not a sukkah in and of itself? Is the day it's not still a day we are only focus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? In fact, the Midrash says that the other days of Sukkot, it's like you have a lot of guests coming over. And then there's like 10, 20 guests over, and there's a very precious person to the king. And he wasn't invited to this party. And he's upset. But then he gets a one-on-one invite with the king. How precious is that? That is what Shemini Atzeret is. Meaning all of the other days are for multiple nations of the world. But Shemini Atzeret is for just the Jewish people alone. So may we internalize this message, and we have an answer now why to Shemini Atzeret is such a special day. So do not let it pass by. Have a good Yontif.